All right, welcome everybody in. See ball, get ball, and we got a cool show tonight. We got Greg McElroy, middle of the week. We always do a fun guest. He's got a great game he's calling this week, the Georgia-Auburn game. Excited to pick his brains on that. We got Podium Kings, like we always do. The coaches talking about the different things. But first, a couple of off the field things, and these are very interesting. It's not the main story, but it's important to know. Like, this is just funny to me. Like, NIL created a snitch line. Literally, a snitch line. Like, they're a line that you can call direct. The College Sports Commission launched it so you can give anonymous tips. Can you imagine, like, the anonymous tips in some of the areas of the country? Just anyone calling. Like, the amount of fraudulent calls, the amount of just insane things that they'll have to sift through and sort through. Like, it will be incredible. Like, to think about how they have to talk about the NIL, the third-party deals. You've probably all heard or seen the Feinbaum show, like in the wild call-ins. It's probably extremely similar, except maybe worse. Because you could really make up anything you want. And both from fans and, coaches and staffers, because coaches have been doing this for years too. Like, coaches will put a little bug in certain people's ears to get certain stories that will come out along the way to ask how certain things happen. It used to be eligibility. You know what's amazing? We don't hear about that anymore. We don't really hear about eligibility issues anymore. Like, think about that. Like, when is the last time that we heard about a student athlete being academically ineligible? That's weird. Never happens anymore because we don't really do athletics anymore, or we don't do academics anymore. It's not really a part of the thing. So it's going to be interesting to see how that all goes, to see who's going to have to answer those calls, the text messages, the emails. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be crazy from you think about, like, this week, the Red River rivalry shootout, whatever you want to call it, the cocktail party week, and both sides having, just the hatred. The NCAA's tip line will be comic gold. I hope they record all of it. Like, I hope they literally record it so we can hear it and we can play it back. The anonymous tips with the accents with certain parts of the country, I think it'll be outstanding. So tip of the cap for operating the snitch line, which we're going to call it from now on. And then tip of the cap from one of our sponsors, actually, Melon. These are fantastic. These lids are fantastic. It's the super comfy hat. Best thing, though, period, is somehow, some way, when my big butt sweats on the golf course, this hat doesn't get stains. That is probably the most amazing part about it. But if you have a big melon like me, which I do, it's a great lid. You can use the promo code Pollack and get 30% off at melon.com, MELIN.com. And thank you to them, too, because they support the Pollack Family Foundation. So appreciate Melon. Appreciate you guys supporting Bill Belichick. I think that's an interesting one we'll get into. We're going to talk to Greg McElroy about it. If you don't know, there's not a lot good to talk about. But if you look at the hires, if you look at the stuff that's going on in Chapel Hill with Chapel Bill, Brent talked about it earlier in the year. Thought it was going to go swimmingly. It hasn't. It's been a mess. And if you watched them last week, they ran snag slant literally 12 plays last week, literally 12 times, which is absolutely amazing that there was nothing else to it. So we'll get to that. But there's also this private equity thing that's going on. And Brent, you're Mr. Attorney. You read this stuff. Like, Brent wears all these different hats. It's amazing. Like, besides the Pro Football Focus we talk about, besides the On 3, watching tape, like, he literally reads all these different cases and has all kinds of studies. And Brent, what's the most pages you've ever read in a study, by the way?
Oh, that, like, thousands, hundreds of thousands of documents for case reviews that I've done.
Big brain. So I know you read this thing. I think it's interesting because we're not going to kill a bunch of time on it, but, like, obviously it's not a coincidence that the Big Ten comes out with this $2 billion private capital deal. And so to bring private equity, other things into sport, it would be interesting to watch it, because who's controlling then the scheduling and the part of the school, the school system that is, because remember, these are student athletes, but this is another thing, another lawsuit, another bill, another part of the judicial system that's going to be talked about that probably goes absolutely nowhere. But what did you read when you saw it?
I have a very jaded opinion, actually, when it comes to this stuff.
No, I can't believe that.
Well, I have a day job. Remember that. I am a college professor by day, and so I'm in academia and in higher education, and I see so many decisions that are driven just strictly by money and business. And
but college sports haven't done that, Brent. They've been driven by the love of the game. Like no expansion. No, they haven't been driven by money.
What's amazing is if you actually read the history of the NCAA, it was basically it's a tax aversion thing. Like it's a whole.
I remember you did that a long time ago. I remember you talking about that.
It's an article in the Atlantic, I think, that was maybe like 15 years ago that looked at the whole history of the NCAA. It's just all this is jaded to me, and it's all going to be driven by money. Heck, even in my own work today, there was decisions that were made that were completely idiotic and completely driven by money. So this does not shock me. None of it shocks me. I'm very jaded when it comes to this.
Like that, man. Come on.
It was a bad decision. I'll tell the president that if he asks me. But yes, none of this shocks me. It's only going to get worse.
And it doesn't matter. I mean, it's just, but it's interesting for fans, man, because do you want to keep private equity from changing the fabric of college football? Because if it happens like that, it's going to become more of a business. And I think that's what fans have been pissed about. Like fans want tradition, fans want rivalries, and a lot of the decisions we've made. The good old days, man, they're not coming back. I mean, you've seen the expansion of the college football playoff. You've seen conference expansion. You've seen teams go across the country now, and now coaches are complaining about it. Like, yeah, this sucks. James Franklin, like we had to go across the country. It's terrible. Well, yeah, this is a part of the Big Ten expanding for more money. So you get paid more money as coaches, and you have more money to split. Like it's a part of the business.
Of life.
It's a part of the business.
Shout out to Mitch in the chat. Can I just get my D2 baseball kid paid before all this blows up? I know exactly who this is, and Mitch, I hope so.
Attaboy, Mitch.
Let's go, Brady.
It's definitely it's definitely interesting. So we'll talk to Greg McElroy about that too. But one of the things that we've talked about on the social media. But if you want to save a little money getting tickets to this game, like any game that you pick this weekend, to the concerts, to whatever you want to go to, go to gametime.com or get the Game Time app. It's a slick app, man. Like we've been on it for a few weeks now, and the responses are great. $20 off your first order with my code Pollack. Check it out. Amazing games this weekend. Like nothing you want to get. You get priced out of that sometimes, but you don't want to do that now. But go to gametime.co to get the Game Time app. Really cool. We'll help you with that. Podium Kings. All right. We've got the procedural stuff out of the way. We're not going to do any more of that. We'll get to Greg. We'll get to all that stuff. But the pettiness, the weirdness of college football, the emotions, Wesley, the Podium Kings are always fantastic when coaches are talking about other coaches, and having this stuff go on is amazing.
Yeah, we got a little bit of that. I love Podium Kings, and we had our first Podium King over the weekend. I don't care that this happened a few days ago. We do like to get, the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday stuff, but sometimes, DP, the soundbite is just too good to stay on the shelf. And we're going to start with Jerry Neuheisel. And if y'all haven't seen this, you've probably been under a rock for the last few days. But let's just celebrate Jerry and celebrate the moment that the kid had, because he is a kid. I think he's probably 15.
I love UCLA more than anything. And the kind of kids that you see that played on that field today is exactly why you love a place like this. We had 2 days to practice the new game plan, and all they did was believe. And we came out and played as hard as we could for 60 full minutes. Had to take a safety at the end because we messed it up a little bit. But, how can you not love college football when you have days like this? Special, special, special.
Have you ever heard a son that sounded more like his dad? I mean, holy cow. that was crazy, huh?
The look isn't far off either. Me and Brent talked about that Sunday at church. We were like, the look, I mean, the throwback look of him and his dad and the flowing locks. Listen, his dad can't have those flowing locks anymore because Father Time is caught up, but the hair is outstanding.
I mean, getting carried off the field, getting called up to be the OC. He said he didn't even know how to use his headset yet, but he found a way. He figured it out for sure in that big win over Penn State. If only they didn't have to fly so far across the country, that maybe they would have won. All right, next one. Today, this is a coach call-in, King. The SEC coaches call. DeBoer was on answering questions from the media, and typically, there's a lineup of coaches, and Coach Drinkwitz finished his time, or so we thought. He hung around to ask Kalen DeBoer a question of his own about that infamous black hoodie that Kalen DeBoer is pretty dang good in. Here's what Drink had to say.
On the sideline this game with us wearing black jerseys.
Coach Drink. I gotta fit in somehow. I'm more than likely. We'll see what the forecast is.
So since DeBoer arrived in T-Town, Bama is 11-2 when he wears that black hoodie during the games, and 1-3 when he doesn't. So I guess
I would
Coach
wear the
Drink
black
wanted
hoodie. Is that debatable?
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt about it. You got to wear it.
If McElroy's got any weird traditions he used to do. I bet he had like this. I bet he taped his wrists the same way, like taped his ankles the same way, like recited the same, or watched the same plays the same way. I bet he was a habitual guy.
He's in here, so we're gonna get one more and then hop into that convo. Only in college football will you hear what Texas Tech head coach Joey McGuire has to say to Red Raiders fans from the podium here.
I think the role of our fans, Red Raider Nation, I really need you guys to, one, understand that it's not about throwing tortillas. Like, let's get it out of the way right off the bat, and then let's focus on when that defense, which is the best defense in the country, when that defense takes the field, stand up, get loud.
So throw tortillas at the opening kickoff, but after that, we need you to get loud. That's Podium Kings. Here is Greg McElroy.
Yeah. All right. Well, I tell you what, Greg, I know you wanted that introduction with tortillas. I'm sure it makes you hungry. But the rituals, go back to the rituals, Greg. Did you tape the wrist? Did you tape the fingers? Did you tape, like, what did you do pregame, like maybe high school to college on?
First of all, like, DP, I know there's no way on earth you were superstitious about anything. Like, you were
not
probably,
a single thing.
You went out of the way to lack any superstition. Like, I know you. Like, that just, like, you would almost, like, even if you were superstitious, like, you would intentionally not to do something the way you did it the week before, just to make sure, like, your body clock was right. Am I wrong? I'm
not smart enough to have superstitions. Like, I didn't. I did do a cross on my tape every week, but like, I didn't have those thought process or nerves or any of that stuff that went into it. Did you have anything though?
No, for sure. I mean, absolutely. I had the exact same. So I had like CDs. It started with like CDs back in the day. I had early pump up CD, which was about an hour or so. Usually it started in high school. We're on the bus. We're going to play, right? So however long we were on the bus, that was early pump up. You get in the locker room, you had mid pump up, and then you had pregame. So like mid pump up was like a series of rap and hard rock. Early pump up was like easy listening, chill, like pretty much low key. And then a lot of country. And then
Limp Bizkit, like just headbanging.
And then it went hard. I listened to 3 songs. What's funny is like I still remember the songs for the era. You know what I mean? One was Presidential. Remember that song? Dun, 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 dun. Like that song. I don't know why I just like that song. That started in high school though. So that was one of the songs that was always in the pregame mix. And then always everything on the left side of my body went on first. So my left leg went through the pants. My left leg had to get taped first. Ankle brace if I was doing it first. Left shoe first. All that stuff before the right side. And then eye black. Paint eye black. Not the stickers. Not that nonsense. Like the real authentic baseball.
Left side first?
Well, always. Left side everything. Left side first, baby. Like I was Lucy Left Eye Lopes there for a minute before I fixed the other side, but it was perfect. I had good paint. That was one thing I was solid at. I was always good at that.
I don't think I've ever heard anyone say that they got dressed on their whole left side first. Like I've never heard of that. Well,
it wasn't like everything was on the left side. Like shoe was on, leg was in, and then I did the right side. It was like left leg, left shoe, right shoe, left hand, right hand, whatever it was. So yeah, left first, then right.
Yeah, that's good. There's a million in the locker room. We know that. But so Greg McElroy from ESPN. By the way, we didn't get you on last week. I really wanted to. the call of the finishing touches of the Ole Miss game, you deserve props because you called the exact play. It was like, watch the tight end in the flat right here on 4th down, knew it was coming. I guess you had studied some tape. I guess Lane might need to have a counterpunch to that in the future too, but knew it was coming in a big moment, man. That was sweet.
I appreciate it. No, I mean, it's been fun diving into the tape and stuff. And like this year, focusing so much on like situational football, like more than ever before. It used to be like just knowing the team, generally speaking, and like understanding. But I've focused so much on like 3rd down, 4th down, red zone. Like that's where I'm living right now. So it's been a lot easier to pick up the tendencies, frankly, and to have kind of an idea what the team is about to do, who they're going to target, what have you. So it's been fun. It's changed my process, but it's been kind of like playing where like every day is a very specific situation. So I almost feel more at home and more comfortable this year than I have even in the first 10 that I did this.
Well, so you got Georgia-Auburn this week. So what's just the first, snapshot view? I'm not asking you to go in the weeds and tell us everything, but like, I think a lot of people look at this and they go, Auburn sucks because they've lost 2 games. I don't, because I'm like, they could have won both those games. It's not like it was that bad. They get to play at home. A lot of strengths of like obviously rushing the passer of Georgia is not a strength. Auburn protecting is not a strength. The 2 big games were not at home, which obviously offensive linemen play better at home. So like there's a lot of things that carry over. I think this is going to be a great game, but what's your first view of it?
First thing is I think the negativity surrounding Auburn is a bit premature, to be honest with you. Like they have guys that could take over the game. And I think it's probably 3 or 4 on offense that could really do it. I mean, Cam Coleman's probably the best example. He's a matchup nightmare. He's got length. He can get over the top. He can win the contested catch. And if it's anything like the Tennessee game, for example, I know different styles, different offenses, whatnot, but if you want to put Cam Coleman out there on your number 2 corner, like look out. I mean, that's a problem. That's a huge problem. And something that Georgia's had to deal with already. I look at the offensive line for Auburn. Now, while I don't think it's great, I think a lot of this had to do with indecisiveness from time to time. Jackson Arnold, new offense, not trying to make a mistake. He's trying to be perfect. I think at some point, though, when you're a dog, like let it fly. You know what I mean? Like just go. Like, do you throw a pick? Who cares? Like, we'll pick you up. Our defense is great. They just got to get through to him. And I think that's probably been a huge message this bye week for Auburn to kind of get back to being aggressive.
Can't you say the same thing about Gunner? Like Kirby's been saying that same thing too about letting it rip and being more aggressive and man-to-man shots. It ain't like, he's not Cam Coleman, but Colby Young ain't bad. Like
no, he's
Noah
legit.
Thomas ain't bad.
Right. And I actually think when you watch, I think Gunner is a much better thrower than people realize, to be honest with you. Like just watching him, like his ball placement's pretty good. He's been good down the field. I don't think he's like a, first round pick, but that, to me, we get way too enamored with prospects. Like to me, I think he's Connor Shaw. And Connor Shaw's a dang good college football player and did play in the league, but isn't going to be the guy that scouts are just drooling over, right? But to me, it's not that dissimilar to a guy like Jake Fromm from a few years ago. I think he might have a little more arm, and I think he actually is more mobile. But I think you can win with that guy. I mean, that guy is a 1 half away from a national championship as a starting quarterback, as a true freshman. So I think Gunnar Stockton's just fine. I don't think he's hesitant. I just don't think they've really asked him to open it up that much. And against Alabama, that game in particular, like the run game was going pretty good. So they didn't really have to do a whole lot. I think there's more in the tank there in the passing game. Their offense in general, from a route scheme concept, there's more there. I'd like to see more, frankly, in a few spots. But I like Bobo's stuff. It's just I don't feel like he's been as aggressive as he probably needs to be or wants to be here moving forward. And I think it's just a process of feeling out and trusting his guys. So I think Georgia and Auburn are both really good. I think the narrative kind of surrounding both teams is it's kind of negative. And I'm not really sure why that is, because the whole season's still in front of them.
Yeah. Speaking of negative, I guess you talk about negative. A lot of people negative on Arch. I was pretty vocal this week, man. I get frustrated with when it's always attacking the kid. So Where would you? I put a lot of blame on Sark. Like Sark's job is to call the plays, to put him in a great position. He's getting hammered. Like he got pressured on 60% of his dropbacks. Let's be honest. The line's not great. The running back spot's not great. Tight end's not great. Receiver's not great. Besides that, they're excellent on offense. So, like, I mean, I don't see a lot of greatness helping him out either around him. But, like, it's starting to be a trend too, Greg. He's 2-8 in Big Ten or in top 10 games. Like, he's 9-15 in one-score games. Like, these are numbers that matter. So, like, I'm putting blame on Arch. He hasn't done what he's supposed to do, and he could be a lot better. But like Texas and all the resources and what they've been able to accomplish, like I think Sark deserves some of that blame as well.
Well, to me, if you're going to blame Sark, I think it has to be, all right, why is it that the offensive line full of 5-star guys isn't playing to their potential? You know, it's not like these guys were under-recruited. You know, it's not like they're forcing, you know, true freshman 3 stars into the lineup. You know what I mean? Like, to me, why are those guys not playing better? I mean, Kyle Flood, their head O-line coach, one of the best in the country. Like, what's the deal? I think there's probably more they can do from a plan standpoint, but the way that people are discussing Arch right now, man, it's like I'm wondering how many people really watched the game against Florida, like from a quarterback's lens. And I am not making excuses, because if you look at his performance against UTEP, terrible. If you look at his performance against Ohio State, he missed a lot of layups. And it took him a couple weeks to get back on track from that performance. I thought he played pretty well against Sam Houston. I thought there were some throws made in that game that were pretty impressive, but it was Sam Houston. So I didn't really put a lot of stock into it. But I think the last 2 games, and last week especially, that was his best game last week. He did have 1 interception over the middle, but the receiver didn't get his head around. He had to get rid of the ball too early because he knows he's going to get hit. So he's got to get rid of it quick. And they're saying, get the ball out. He's getting it out quick. Well, the receiver doesn't get his head around. It's picked by a safety because he's not where he needs to be. The last pick was really just a phenomenal play by defensive back. Like any Tom Brady would throw that same ball and it would have gotten picked. It was just a great play. The guy undercut a V route. Is going to be perfect. And he just went up and high pointed it beautifully. So I don't necessarily apply a lot of blame to that decision. There were a couple misses in the game, but he was under duress the whole time. Like the guy didn't have a clean pocket, not one time where he could just stand and deliver the ball downfield. I think they got to be a little better for sure up front. I think Sark could probably help because their screen game has not been anywhere near as good as it's been in the past. I don't know why that is, but it's not as good. I don't think the receivers are anywhere near what I thought they'd be this year.
No.
And I think the tight ends are average at this point. Compared to what they had last year, especially. So I think just talent-wise across the board on offense, what's around Arch is nothing like what they've had in the past or what we thought they'd have coming into the season. So look, you can't play quarterback by yourself. You have to have help. And Arch right now, I don't think is getting proper help in many, many areas. But it still means that when things are perfect, he's got to make those throws too. And he hasn't done it as often as he needed to really have me feeling great about the offense moving forward.
No, I knew you'd take the quarterbacks back. I figured,
like, dude,
McElroy.
Did you see like the
interior pressure? The interior pressure by the defensive tackles for Florida.
The defensive line coach the whole time is saying, affect the quarterback, hit the quarterback. Like, please. Like, he got hit how many times that game? 25 times. And was still standing in there and like trying to throw darts. Like, I respect how he played. I really did. I think he played pretty well under the circumstances.
Yeah, they got beat in the interior so many times, so clean. You're just like, how does that happen? I mean, credit to Florida, but that hasn't even been their MO this season. All right, Greg McElroy is with us, ESPN analyst, always college football podcast, always got great stuff, great opinions. Who's the best team in the country, Greg?
Ohio State, but I go back and forth between them and Miami. Like I've literally flip-flopped them multiple times. And part of what I've loved so much about Ohio State, and albeit like I'm not 100% sold on who they've played up to this point, including Texas. Their level of domination, though, is pretty remarkable. And what I've liked most about Ohio State this year is how they've adjusted who they are offensively. Like this is not like a high-flying, we're going to pitch it all over the yard. This is not a CJ Stroud style of attack. It's not. It's like a run-first outfit, and the offensive line is the strength. Like I love that. Because to me, the last couple of years, the offensive line's been fine. It's been
the only weakness, though, really.
Yeah, they've had talented guys, but it's not been a strength. You know, they've like you can have a first rounder, but the group as a collective talent, sure, as a unit, not by any means their best attribute. I think this year you can make a case that might be their best personnel group with how they're playing together and the physicality they're playing with. So I love that. I think they have a quarterback that's playing really smart. I think they're taking care of him. They have a running back that's a bona fide dude. We know what they have on the outside from a matchup standpoint, so they're going to get favorable looks in the run game, which is always helpful. And then defensively, I think as far as how they're playing as a unit is very, very impressive. I would say last year's group from a ceiling standpoint, probably slightly higher, but they're covering better, I think, on the outside. They're not having as many penalties, or at least it doesn't feel that way.
They were a holding group last year.
Big time. I also like how they're using Caleb Downs. I mean, he's one of the more versatile players in the country. They're allowing him to be that. So I just think they're playing at a ridiculously high level right now, and it's been a lot of fun to watch. It really has.
Do you expect any resistance from Illinois this week?
I don't like the matchup for Illinois at all. I know what Illinois wants to be. I know what Illinois will intend to be to try to grind them out. That offensive line from Illinois to me has not been overwhelmingly impressive. I look at some of the gash plays they had against SC. There were some busted plays in the back end defensively from SC. We've seen that. That's been a bit of a trend. And I feel like SC kind of played their way out of position a few times. It led to some gash moments in that one as well. I do not like the matchup for Illinois. Like Ohio State will make you earn it. And I don't know if Illinois can with their offense. I think they're going to have to win some matchups, and I'm not sure they can do that consistently enough. I like Hank Beatty, the receiver. I think he's a real one. I don't know if they'll be able to create consistency running the football, and when they get in obvious pass situations, I don't like their offensive line holding up. And then defensively, I think they'll battle, but Ohio State doesn't have to do too much. As long as they don't turn it over, they should be in good shape.
And Luke Altmaier's a stud. He's just not being protected,
yeah.
And he doesn't have the greatest weapons outside. But that dude, he gets rid of the football. He doesn't waste a lot of plays. He avoids sacks. Like, his feet in the red zone become a big deal. And you're right, Beatty's thrown it. He's caught it. He's been in special teams. He's been all over the field for him. He's been really, really good, man. It's been fun to watch. But I do think if they struggle with Indiana's speed, they might just a little bit struggle with Ohio State's speed as well, because they got some guys on the outside that are, I mean, they're pretty decent. Like, they'll be okay. Like, Jeremiah Smith's good. I mean, he's a little
he's got a chance. Yeah, well, let me ask you this about the Indiana-Illinois game, because that one is one that's like burned in my memory. You know what I mean? Like, that's a hard game to forget. I know that we live in a world now where you can kind of just take that performance, just throw it away. Like in the new era, 12-team playoff. But that one to me is just really hard to forget. And I'm probably going to have a hard time trusting Illinois all season as a result. Like, do you see it similarly?
Yeah, and it started with Duke. Like, they were getting, I mean, Altmaier was getting hammered like crazy, and Duke they blew off all of their toes on their foot. They literally gave him as many chances as humanly possible. And then, Illinois' schedule the rest of the way is good too, which is crazy. Right. So they're going to have a chance to look up, and maybe they are at that 10-2 mark. But, like, I'm not going to get that taste out of my mouth. Like, I still got that pucker face because you lost by 50. Like, it wasn't – that was a demolition. That was in the special teams, offense, defense, like everything about it. Yeah, I don't – like, Notre Dame losing by 1 to A&M, like, I'm good with that. Notre Dame being in the game with Miami, like, those are two good teams you lost. Indiana's a good team. Indiana's a really good team.
No doubt.
Like, Ohio State's a really good team. But to me, if you're going to be talking about debating these teams down the road, when you got that on your resume, that becomes an albatross. Like, that becomes the reason that I'm not putting you in.
I'm with you. And I love Indiana. Like, I think they're legit. So, like, to have a bad day against that group, there's no shame in that at all. Like, no shame. But to have a day that was that bad is a tough one for me to forget. And that goes for anybody. You get run out of the gym. Like, to me, that's a hard pill to kind of get over. So it's not that Illinois can't make the playoff. Like, they can absolutely make the playoff. I'm not saying they can't. I'm not saying they should. I'm not saying they shouldn't. I'm just saying that's one that's going to be hard for me. Like, in a weekend like this, like, hey, Buckeyes are coming to town. How do you feel about Illinois? I'm like, I don't feel good about them. I just don't trust them after that. You know what I mean? I hate that's the case, but it's just they're a hard team to back right now.
100%. All right, so let's go to Indiana at Oregon, because I think that both these quarterbacks are playing at such an elite level, and they both make it go for their team. They're both athletic. Now, Dante Moore looks a little bit different than Mendoza, but Mendoza's a big, strong sucker who's athletic. But, I mean, a great quarterback battle at Oregon. What are your thoughts on this, Sam?
I've gone back and forth. Like, I love Oregon. I do. I think they're the real deal. I also wonder, too, like when I watched the Oregon Penn State game, there were parts of that game to me that I was so impressed with. And now 1 week removed from having seen Penn State play UCLA and some of the flaws that we saw on the back end and tackling, some of the issues I saw in the angles that those players took. And frankly, like I put that game on with Penn State and I thought I was going to see a flat performance. I didn't see a flat performance. I saw a team that just got out executed and got outperformed. And we're especially bad in situational football. To me, that's a reflection of coaching, not effort. And that to me was troubling. So since I watched that, my impressions of Oregon have shifted just ever so slightly. Not that I don't really like them, but I was 100% confirmed this is a legit national championship contender. I still think they are, but I don't know if it's at 100% confirmation anymore. I think it's at about 98% confirmation. Like I'm really close to being all in again, but this might be the week that I think that Indiana matches up better to me with Oregon than Penn State did. Like just seeing both teams, the athleticism on both teams, seeing the confusion and the disruption that Indiana can cause, how well coached they are, how they will move up front defensively and yet not be out of gaps because of how good their linebackers are plugging, with how they can kind of somehow mess with the quarterback's eyes and create some conflicts with what they do defensively. Like their defensive coordinator to me is like Brian Haynes is the man. Like I voted for him last year to win the Broyles. And like I know nobody was going to give him that credit, but he's that good. I think he's that good and that creative and that disruptive. So I think that can be a group that could give Oregon problems offensively. I think their movements and stuff can cause some issues. Now they can get gashed too, because that movement does lead to potential vulnerabilities against these explosive running backs.
I got some questions. I got some questions on the other side too, man. Like
I'm with you.
Oregon's playing a true freshman corner and a redshirt freshman corner. And I'm like, I think they're pretty good, but I really don't know because they haven't played people that can beat them. And I think, you thought Drew Aller, but if we're watching Drew Aller and we're grading him honestly, he's not winning because of timing and rhythm and passing game. That's just not – I would love to see more of that from him. I don't think he's that kid right now, and maybe he'll grow and get better. But, like, listen, he'll improv and he'll make plays, but, like, Mendoza's going to get the ball out. Mendoza will take hits. And so I'm really curious to find this pass rush for Oregon's really good. They stunt well. Like I see that, but I think they're going to get tested in the back end as well.
I don't disagree. I think the receivers at Indiana are real, like real. And I really like their backs. I think all three of those guys are good. They serve a distinct role. They have a legit 1-2 punch, and then they have a hammer. So I think they're and I love their offensive line. Like, I think their offensive line is the real deal. Like, I think it's a really good group. Now, I love Oregon from a personnel athleticism standpoint. Like, I love all of that. I think they're very, very good up front. I don't know if they're as good as they were a year ago, but that's okay. Like, I can live with that right now. I think if this becomes a perimeter game, though, I do think that Indiana can cause some problems. I do. I believe that. I am also curious, too, if for whatever reason it becomes a bit of a track meet, like if it becomes a track meet, and I don't know if it's I lean towards it being a high scoring affair. That's where I lean. But if it becomes a track meet, at what point do the veteran receivers, do they have a huge impact? Because you're relying on a guy that's had 9 starts in his college career offensively, and your quarterback. Your best receiver is a true freshman. I love your tight end, but he was a little banged up. I don't think it's going to be something that lingers, but he was a little banged up. He might be at less than 100%. Hopefully, Kenan Sadiq is not. Your other receivers, I think Gary Bryant's rock solid, but I'm not 100% sold on Malik Benson. I think your backs are incredible, but you do have youth on that team, and if it gets tight, if it becomes a game down the stretch at home, especially, it's a little easier, I think, to play a tight game on the road, in my opinion. When you're at home and it's tight and you don't think it should be, that's when things get a little uncomfortable too. So I think Indiana's going to play with them. Like, I think Oregon will win the game. I think Indiana keeps it close though.
I think those backs for Oregon are going to be fun all year because
so
they stay
good.
fresh.
They're
And I think Hill's going to be the next superstar. And they ask him to carry the ball. When he does it with bad intentions, and it's really fun. All right,
I love how they answer me this. Like, they're probably my favorite backs, and it's like they found one that worked so well for them in Bucky Irving. And it's like, all right, find whatever you do, find guys that mirror Bucky Irving's attributes. Like, their acceleration into contact is absurd. Like, those guys hit the hole at 100 miles an hour. I don't think any backs in college football accelerate like the Oregon backs have the last couple of years. It's just so fun to watch.
And I think the offensive line, after I watched that Penn State game, I'm like, they're playing with a little nasty. I like that. Like, I like having a little – I like people that don't like people. That's my favorite part of people in football. When you look at this week, man, everybody had it on the bingo card. Greg McElroy had it on Always College Football. You had it on ESPN when you were doing everything. You had the teams that were undefeated in the SEC. It was going to consist of the teams that are there right now, right? You had Missouri. We all had Missouri and OU. And, like, we all had them instead of the other squads that are at the top. Missouri's got a big opportunity this week. Bama playing so good. Missouri at home. I know you. I know you've studied Ty Simpson, and you've got to love what you see from him and where he's going. I mean, does little old Missouri have a chance? I mean, they're not even going to be in this game with big bad Bama. I mean, they've got no shot.
It's like, I love Missouri. My problem with Missouri, though, is I don't know for sure. Like, that's where I'm struggling. Because while I have respect for Kansas, I do. I think Kansas has a super dynamic quarterback. I think Kansas does have a couple guys with speed on the perimeter. I like their 1-2 punch at running back. I like Kansas. I do. I just don't think Missouri has seen a team that is quite like this. And I'm not sure it's close, frankly. The big thing that I think Missouri does well, though, we know how they want to run the football. They want to capture the edge. They want to stretch you. And you can speak this better than anybody. When teams are running that outside zone stuff, and you are forced as a linebacker unit, for example, to tackle at angles, like, how much harder is that to make a tackle on a back that's hitting at 100 miles an hour? Like, how hard is that?
It's next to impossible because I have to go so flat. I don't have power. Downhill, I have that power. I have my base. When I'm trying to catch that sucker, Ahmad Hardy, who is fast, and then I got to speed up and accelerate everything it takes for me to get there. Now he's on that track and he cuts back, and it's like, crap, like he's gone. So it's man, it's been fun to watch them for years at Missouri, because Cody Schrader a couple years ago, out of nowhere, they're just so good at getting on tracks. Like, they're so well coached, and then their offense, man, it's so much crap to look at. Like, there's so much, sniffer over here on the left, motion this way, zone blocking, left, and then the sniffer's going right, QB's going to roll the other direction. Like, it's literally a lot to look at. And I like what I saw from Bama in the second half versus Vandy. For the first time, I saw good eye discipline. For the first time, I saw really good tackling. For the first time, I saw a team. And on the other side, like, it felt like I was watching Greg McElroy's teams. Like, it was ground and pound. It was, what I'm saying? Like, they finished the game like they used to. They finished the game by taking the heart out of your chest and eating it. And I love that. Like, it was so good to see them be physical, and now a chance, obviously, again, to show. But yeah, it's just so much to look at and try to stop.
Well, here's what I like about what Bama did. Because if you look at their issues, it's not really along the defensive line. Like, I think there's a misconception. Well, like, oh, you're getting run on, your defensive line must be bad. Like, that was not really the issue with Alabama. If you watch them in the chunk yardage, the problem is, like, they're stopping people, 1, 2, 3 yards downfield, and they give up a 23-yarder. Oh, they're stopping people 1, 2, 3 yards downfield, and then boom, they give up a 65-yarder or whatever. They're getting gashed on chunk yardage plays. So when I see that, it's not because the defensive line is just getting absolutely worked. That's not the case. It's been challenging for Alabama, is I don't feel like they've done a great job at the second level fitting the run, and they've especially done a poor job with their corners and safeties and fitting the run.
Georgia made those corners tackle all game, and they were very bad at it.
They want to know part of it. They want to know, and that is not something, like, if you look at the guys, even the guys that are back from last year, like Damani Jackson, Xavier Brown, like, those guys, I mean, corners are never going to be elite against the run. They're corners for a reason. But they were willing to go in and like kind of sacrifice their body and throw a shoulder at a guy. Like they would do that 100%. However, that was not there those first few weeks. And Georgia got him a handful of times. I mean, Damani Jackson probably had 3 or 4 plays that he didn't set the edge appropriately or contain the run. Next thing you know, it's out the gate. So I do think there was such progress made in the second half against Vandy. If you look at the first 2 runs they hit, Cedric Alexander on touchdown, Diego Pavia to the right-hand side, big play, getting on the fringe of the red zone again. I might have been in the red zone, whatever it was. It was a long game. Anyways, you get 2 massive runs, probably 100 yards worth of rushing on just 2 plays alone. And all of a sudden, they backed their linebackers up just a hair. They backed them up a yard. Now these guys can see it a little better because Diego Pavia is, not very tall. So they would lose him behind the line. And all of a sudden, you couldn't find him, and he's out. So they back him up a touch. They actually had the free safety because they were selling out against the run. They had the safety playing like 6-7 yards. They backed him up to 12. And now Bray Hubbard is able to actually see what's going on in the backfield. And then, boom, he can go up, fit the run appropriately, and make the play. There's a reason why they go for 120 yards in the first half or the first quarter running the football to then just 9 yards rushing in the second half of that football game. And it's not like it became just an aerial assault from Vandy either. I mean, Vandy was still very committed to the run, very committed to their traditional offense until the final drive of the half. So I think they just did a much better job of adjusting, and I'm so much more confident now moving forward because I did see those adjustments. I did see a willingness to come up and fit the run at the secondary. That to me is huge.
So you think it's a close game, or you think Bama just rolls?
No, super close. Like I think it's gonna be a super close game because I really like Missouri defensively. Like, I think if Bama has a hard time running the football and they're in obvious pass situations, like Missouri's got some heat off the edge, and that I think has given Bama some fits because this will probably be the best edge presence that they've played since Florida State.
Yep.
And
I
don't think Florida State was great. But I think this will probably be the best edge presence they played. Now, I will say this. I do think Wisconsin has guys off the edge that can go. But that didn't really materialize because Ty was playing so decisively that game that it didn't really matter. The ball was out before those guys could even get home. So I think that'll be the big key. If Bama can stay on schedule and run the football, I think they'll be in good shape. But if for whatever reason they get behind the sticks, then it becomes a challenge. I also am curious about Mizzou covering these wideouts. I'm curious about anyone covering these wideouts because I think they're that good.
They're a problem.
They're legit. I think it's going to be a great game. I think it's coming down the wire. I can see it going either way. I'd lean Bama just because they're battle tested. They've played against 4 Power 4 teams, whereas Missouri's played the 109th ranked strength schedule. I think there's something about having a callus at this point of the season.
Yeah, I think there's also something too to playing a lot of hard games in a row, and I think now Bama's done that, and I think Perbula's legs is going to be a big deal in this. He's not had to run the football a lot. I think they'll be smart enough to use him in this game. You think Lagway puts it together now? You think we see the Lagway we expected the rest of the season, and obviously a pretty good challenge this week and a pretty tricky defense and a team that's hot?
Am I crazy that I kind of like Florida this week? Not to get the outright upset, but I'd be shocked if that game's not tight.
No, I mean, everything about A&M seems to be clicking, right? Because the first thing we said about to start the season was like defense ain't that good. Like that's the first thing everybody said. They played some pretty good offenses to start the season too, but then they started to get that together. The passing game was pretty solid. The running game wasn't, but now you're starting to see, man, the running game for A&M going better, the run defense going better, and you know this. Mike Elko is just a pain in the butt on third downs. Like it's just. It's so much fun. Like I watch him and I literally get jealous, like because there's so many schemes you play in that you just ask a guy to go win. Well, he's so good at like, no, it looks like 5 guys are coming and then 4 comes and it's 5-on-4 or 6-on-4 sometimes. And you're like, there's 2 guys at the quarterback. That should never happen. But, you know, a guy drops off, they cover him. They might even drop both defensive tackles and come off the edge. Like just so creative. I don't know. I think Florida rode the momentum of being at home. They handed Jaden Ball the ball early, and he had a great game to start. Now they started to come back down to earth a little bit, and I think A&M at home. I don't think Florida has that kind of magic. They might have some success, but I don't think you're going to line up. I don't think they're going to line up and stop. I think A&M will have a little bit more. I think it'll be a little easier for A&M to move the football and to stop Florida this week.
Well, I think A&M's offensive line will hold up a lot better. That I think compared to what we saw from Texas last week. So I think A&M matches up better up front, which is helpful. The one thing I'm curious about though is the strength of this Florida team is supposed to be the offensive line. It's finally started to play like it last week. Like, is that a sign of things to come? Because if you look at A&M, they have at times been maybe a little bit too aggressive with some of their stuff up front defensively. And they get got every once in a while as a result of that. We saw it in the UTSA game. The UTSA should never run for 200. Why did they run for 200? Because guys were doing too much. And whether it was called or it was improvised, they were doing too much. So I think that is an indicator. Like, I think they'll play it smart. I think they'll stay at home. I just think Florida's heavy, man. Like, they are just a heavy football team. And you're going to have to get against some big, big bodies. And look, D linemen like yourself, y'all don't like playing the run. Like, I don't care what anyone says. Like, you give me 2 tight ends, give me wing. Like, no guy. Y'all all look pretty with your 4-7 jersey on. Y'all want to get after the passer and do spin moves and all kinds of fun stuff. Like, y'all don't want to set the edge against a wing and have them run mid-zone right at you. Like, that's a beast. Like, who wants to do that?
Florida tried to run at Colin Simmons 3 plays in a row that didn't work out too well last week. Literally tried him 3 in a row, but I understand. I understand what you're saying.
That's all I'm saying. Like,
I don't think you have any experience with. I don't think you have any experience with this, Greg. But like how nice is it to have an elite wide receiver out wide now, and how much does that make it so much better for Lagway? Like, I know you don't. I know you never got to taste that. You never got to have a guy out wide that was big, huge, strong, could run by everybody. I know that wasn't part of your gig. But how much does Dallas Wilson, man, help that offense?
It's just so big, dude. I mean, it's like you can't single the guy. I mean, the 6'3", 215. Like, everyone, wet their pants last year about Jeremiah Smith because of how physically mature he is. Like, that's what Dallas Wilson's like, not that different at all. Like, he almost looks a little thicker. I think Jeremiah Smith's a little longer, but Dallas Wilson just looks a little thicker. Like, he plays, at least in one game, he looked like Anquan Bolden to me. Like, he looked like a big physical wide receiver that's going to go up and make plays, and it's going to like give the elbow like this, and DBs fall, like they fall down. I mean, like that doesn't happen. You know what I mean? He's abnormal,
just out there punking people.
It's unbelievable. Like, it was unbelievable. So I think that is going to open things up in the run game because you got to keep a guy over the top. Like, you got to double the guy. And they also have VB3 in the slot, who I think is really good. And I think he can cause some problems as well. The thing that I think will be really interesting in this game, though, because if it becomes a throw-a-thon and Lagway has to drop back 40-plus times, that's not a winning recipe. Like, it's bootleg, it's short passes, it's moving the pocket. Like, because of how vertical they play upfield, like, you're probably not going to do a ton of just straight boot action, but you got to have some. So I think it's a 25 attempt game from Lagway. I think it's a 40 run game from Florida. And I think they battle. And I don't see A&M getting away from them. I don't. I think it's going to be tight. I think A&M wins, but I would expect Florida to keep it close.
All right, 2 more for you. John Mateerless, Oklahoma, in the Red River rivalry. And you're the one that's on the show, too, when you start to do the ranking show. One of the things that we've been told for years when we worked there, when I worked there, after I got fired, you're still there. But, like, what we got told for years is what? Like, injuries are also part of something that they consider with the committee. So now John Mateer, having his injury going into the Texas game should be interesting to see how they handle themselves. But, like, now Texas bouncing back, do you see this being first to 17, first to 13? Like, what do you think this one's going to look like?
I don't see how this game becomes high scoring. I just don't. I think both defenses are too good, and both offenses and both coaches know that they have problems with their offensive line. So I don't imagine a scenario where you're sitting there, and if you're, say, Brent Venables or Ben Arbuckle, their offensive brain trust, you're like, all right, we want Mateer, if he plays. I don't think he will, but if he plays, do we want him dropping back and throwing it behind that group with Colin Simmons and company rushing off the edge? Like, no way. I mean,
can't run and get hit either. So
yeah, close to the vest, quarterback run game. We can do that. Maybe he's got some type of cast that allows him to still throw. How accurate will he be? Who knows? If it's not John Mateer and it's Michael Hawkins, like, his accuracy or inaccuracy is obvious. Like he's a little up and down. He's going to have some big misses. That happens. He's a young quarterback. But I do think he's got a lot of juice with his legs. I think he can cause problems in the quarterback run game. I don't know what their number 3 option is beyond him. So how much do you really want to expose him to the violence that he might face in this game? I don't know. But I think both teams will keep it real close to the vest. Like I actually think Texas bounces back here. Like I look at this and everything about Oklahoma's defensive front scares me to death if I'm Texas. Like that defensive front I think is more disruptive than Florida. But I also know with that defensive front and some of the pressures that Venables will bring and how he's looping guys and how they're trying to overload you. If I'm him, I wouldn't blitz. I would just allow my front 4 to tee off. Like I think those guys can go get it. Give me Mason Thomas off the right.
He can't do that. He doesn't have that in him, Greg.
He doesn't. He can't do it. Like I think he's going to blitz his way into some problems. And Sark's going to have some zero beaters dialed up and they're going to hit him. Like that to me is what I'll be real curious about because I would go uber conservative with the plan here. So I think I can win it with my front 4 on both sides. And I think it's about the team that makes the mistake. If one team makes a mistake, it's could be Katie bar the door. I mean, I think that could be it. So I lean Texas.
And we know Texas will be conservative. That's who they are. That's who Kwiatkowski. He's going to drop back. He's going to be conservative. He'll make you earn it all the way down the field. They listed him as questionable, which is interesting. But man, I don't think you play him. I don't think it's possible. I think it's gamesmanship. I think that's part of the deal. Like prepare for him. But how about this too? OU defense, Greg, 8 forced fumbles. That will not continue. That is luck. Like that doesn't happen throughout a season. Trust me. I'm a defensive guy. I wish it did, but that is the ball bouncing, that a weirdly shaped ball that will bounce your way sometimes and sometimes it won't. So I don't think they'll continue with that. Last one, Chapel Bill. I was incredibly wrong. I thought because of his schedule and because of his defensive pedigree, he would come in, he would find a way to win a bunch of games in the ACC. I don't think he will last this season, and I think it won't. I think this tenure is going to come to an end soon. But like, what have you seen with North Carolina? And just, I mean, I don't know where to start because you just go ahead. There's so much that the buyout's coming, I imagine. But what do we say he did a good job at? Because I don't see it.
I'm struggling myself. Like, I mean, the thing that's most remarkable to me, like Freddie Kitchens is on that staff or whatnot. Like Freddie Kitchens, the OC. Freddie Kitchens can coach some ball now. Like he can call some plays. Like that guy knows how to score.
Well, they're not. He's not. Chapel Bill's not letting him because they ran snag slant 12 times last week.
Yeah,
like the most horrible basic crap with nothing else to it. Like, so there's a problem there, and it's not him. It's someone else.
Yeah, well, I know Freddie's offense, and what I'm seeing is not it. So, like, that's an example, I think, of, like, I'm not sure, and just not knowing a whole lot about what it was like in the Patriots organization or whatnot, but it's Bill's way or the highway. Like, I mean, at least based on what I've assumed from the outskirts, right? I'm amazed at how bad it's been because if you talk to people that are more familiar with the roster and who they brought in. And I'm not in scouting. I'm not in the transfer portal evaluation world. That's not my world. Like I don't even try to pretend. Like if a guy's playing at a place that I want to cover, I'll watch some tape of that guy, but I don't know how the whole pie is going to come together. I mean, you never know. If you live heavy in the portal, like you might be great. You might be awful. And right now they're trending towards the latter. It's been disappointing, if you want me to be honest. I think all of us would have liked to have had that storyline throughout the season. But I think when I saw the game against TCU, and anyone that has done college football for the last, 8 months knows that knows what TCU does to try to create problems for you. Like they're going to take vertical shots and they're going to force you to dictate and declare. And if all of a sudden you declare that you want to take away the run, they're going to take deep shots. If you determine that you want to take away the deep shots, they're going to run it down your throat. They're going to hit some short throws underneath. Pretty simple. Like we all know what TCU's offense is. And then sure enough, week 1, what does TCU come out doing? Just down the field, no adjustment, just down the field. It's like that's what like you got when you're playing against a team. It's how and who. How do they beat us? Who do they beat us with? And I don't feel like with TCU in week 1, they had any answer whatsoever on defense to what TCU has done under Sonny Dykes for the last million years. To me, that's what was most alarming. I'm like, this ain't good. Because if TCU is going to beat you, they better beat me doing something that they haven't done forever, especially week 1. So that I think was alarming.
That set the tone. And then when Clemson's offense, like, how do you get Clemson's offense going? You go play North Carolina.
Yes, confirmed.
I mean, that's not good, man. Like, they look so human, and then all of a sudden they're ripping off 30-plus points and making you look. It's bad. Like, it's a $20 million buyout, and with the way it looks, it's like, okay, yeah, we got to do this now because it's just there's not a lot of positives.
Well, I don't know how do you recruit now? Like, because now everybody's circling and swarming, and everybody's probably reaching out to agents and wondering what the North Carolina players are going to do next. So there's probably guys at this point that are like, what do I do? Like, I'm hearing about this. Do I go in the portal? Like, well, I mean, it just becomes a huge mess. The one thing that he could potentially do is like lock down a really good recruiting class. So at least there's some optimism. So there's a fear that if you let him go, then you lose all those guys. Then, you're starting from scratch with someone new. But I don't know, man. It's a problem. Like I was pessimistic in the outskirts of it, like turning into a championship contender. Just because I think in this day and age, the modern player requires you to meet them where they're at, not have a mentality of you're going to do it my way. And if you don't, kick rocks, So I think the modern player requires a little bit more willingness to concede. And I don't think that's in his nature, but it's been a hard thing to watch, man. I mean, it really has. I'm not sure how you can spin it.
But one of his best friends is Saban, and Saban got out for that he knew what he was getting into. That's where it's interesting. Greg, thank you, my man. Best of luck on the call. I think you're gonna have a barn burner. I think it's gonna be a fun one in Jeddah on Saturday night, man. But thank you for joining us. We appreciate you like always, big dog.
Always enjoy, buddy. Great being with you. Look forward to seeing you soon.
Yes, sir. See you, brother.